Welcome to the PAC file Best Practices module. In this module we will cover what is a PAC file, common JavaScript functions, Zscaler specific variables, subclouds, PAC file examples, how to create and access PAC files, and a review of PAC file best practices. A proxy auto configuration or PAC file is a JavaScript function definition written in a text file that tells a computing device where to send web traffic, either to a proxy server or directly to the destination. PAC files are supported by all common browsers and operating systems, including mobile devices. PAC files allow a great deal of control of when and where traffic is sent, as well as handling proxy failover. Here are some common PAC file functions that we will use in our examples. isPlainHostname returns true if the hostname contains no dots. DNSDomain returns true if the domain matches the request. Localhost or domain returns true if the exact hostname matches. IsInNet returns true if the hostname resolves to a listed subnet. DNSResolve resolves hostname into an IP address. This is often stored as a variable. There are many more functions that can be used to create very complex PAC files. For further reading, you can check out the website www.findproxy4url.com, which is named after the first statement in a PAC file. This site contains details on all the various functions supported by PAC files, as well as examples. Once you determine that a given request should be sent to the proxy server, you need to specify where to send that request in the PAC file. In the appliance world, you would simply enter the IP address of the local proxy server. However, due to the globally distributed nature of the Zscaler cloud, it is not recommended to enter IP addresses of ZENs in your PAC file. If you are going to host the PAC file on your own servers, you should use the gateway.cloudname.net and secondary.gateway.cloudname.net hostnames. Using this method will result in ZENs that are closest to the DNS server used by the client. However, the best solution is to host your PAC files on Zscaler's PAC servers and use the gateway and secondary gateway variables. In this case, the PAC server will supply the closest ZEN addresses to the client, resulting in the best possible user experience. One quick note on subclouds. A subcloud is a subset of ZENs within a given cloud. Say for example you are on the Zscaler 2 cloud, but you want all of your traffic to only be sent through ZENs in Europe. In that case, you should contact Zscaler support and they will give you the DNS and/or PAC file variable names to be used for that subcloud. Okay, now let's put it all together and look at a couple of sample PAC files. In this example, we have physical offices that have GRE or VPN tunnels to Zscaler, but users who also take their devices outside the offices. In that case, we need the PAC file to determine whether the user is inside the office or not, and only send to Zscaler if it is outside the office. In this case, we are going to use DNS resolution to make this determination. Let's walk through the various sections of the PAC file to see how this works. These first two statements create variables that we will use later in the file. The first is a list of all RFC 1918 internal IP addresses stored as the variable private IP. The second tells the system to resolve the hostname intranet.safemarch.com and store the resulting IP address as the variable internal host. Now we get into the meat of the file. This statement says that if the request is to a hostname that is not fully qualified, i.e. it does not contain any dots, like if you simply typed http://intranet into your browser, or if the destination is using anything in the private IP variable we stored earlier, then send it directly to the destination. This is because these requests are not on the internet, and so there is no need for Zscaler to be involved. The final step is to determine if the user is inside or outside one of the offices and send the traffic accordingly. The statement reads, if the internal host variable, which is the IP address for intranet.safemarch.com, does not equal 10.10.4.3, then send the traffic to Zscaler. If it does equal 10.10.4.3, then the user is inside an office using an internal DNS server, and the traffic should be sent direct and will be delivered to Zscaler via the GRE or IPsec tunnel. This next file is much simpler as we don't have any offices with GRE or VPN tunnels. We are simply doing the hostname and private IP check and then sending everything else to Zscaler. Note the use of the gateway and secondary gateway variables. This slide shows the PAC file editor in the admin UI and how to configure your system to use the Zscaler PAC file server. The PAC file editor can be found under the Administration tab in the admin UI. It is recommended to create your own PAC files even if you use the content of the default files, since the default files are read-only. That way, if you do need to make changes, you won't have to push a new URL to all of your users. Once you create a PAC file, the system will display the URL here. Make sure when you create a PAC file that the file name ends in .pac. And now some final thoughts and best practices. Many of the recommendations are common to programming since the PAC file is in effect a program. You should host PAC files on the Zscaler PAC server and use the gateway and secondary gateway variables. Do not use Zen IPs. Comment the code extensively. Keep the file as small and efficient as possible. Place high probability checks at the top. This one is related to keeping the file small and efficient. The more checks the system has to perform before it returns an answer means more delay for the user. Therefore, you should place the conditions that are likely to be triggered most often as close to the top of the file as possible. Beware the overuse of isResolvable, DNSResolve, and isInNet to avoid potential DNS performance issues. When possible, group common return values into single conditional if checks. Verify that your JavaScript is error-free. Use the Verify button in the admin UI. It won't alert you to any logic problems, but it will check that your syntax is correct. This concludes the PAC file best practices module. We hope this module has been useful, and thank you for your time.